Hello and welcome back to Hold On I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood and you are listening to our review of UFC 286, which was headlined by Leon Edwards versus Kamaru Usman for the welterweight title in London, England. First pay-per-view in London since, Tom, which fight?
Wow, you're putting me on the spot there, Joe. I remember a lot of fun last year in London. Was it Tom Aspinall versus Volkov?
Pay-per-view, I'm talking. Like a numbered event. What was the last one?
Well, we haven't had a defending champion for a while, Joe.
Since when? Do you remember the fight?
I don't remember the fight.
Michael Bisping versus Dan Henderson 2, which they had at 6 o'clock in the morning UK time to keep it in line with the
how
US
far
pay-per-view
we've
market.
come.
I know.
How far we've come. Look at me now.
Look at me now. Pay-per-views on at a reasonable time. Saying that, though, I was too tired to watch it live, and I just went to bed and watched it in the morning. So that says more about me than it does about the time of that card instead. But Tom, no messing. Let's get straight to the meat of this card and go straight to this main event. Leon Edwards successfully defends his title against Kamaru Usman. A majority decision win for him in that fight, mostly down to the fact he had a points deduction in the third round. The scores were 48-46, 48-46 and 47-47. Now, Tom, when those scores were just about to be read out, I thought to myself, man, Leon's about to get screwed. And then when Bruce dropped the "and still," I jumped out my bed, excited. I was nude. You can judge what sort of excitement I had, Tom. Okay? It was a hell of a moment, and I'm absolutely delighted that Leon retained his title.
Yeah, it was a fantastic showing. Much improved from his last win over Usman, although, of course, didn't end in such spectacular fashion. Showed improvements everywhere. Sea-level Leon. Watch out, world. We're going to get into the X's and O's, as you would say, Joe, in a minute. But I also would like to take a moment and say congratulations to Leon, and on behalf of the UK, thank you, well done, and deliver us many more events in London. I'm really excited for the future. Dana, in the post-fight press conference, he was announcing belts coming, big fights, bringing them all to the UK. Beautiful indeed. A seminal moment, I think, for UK MMA.
Absolutely. I think the thing that got me about the main event is not only the fact that Leon retained against Usman, confirming that these two are the two best welterweights in the world. Like, there was this weird narrative that came out that, Usman's washed, or, actually this was a robbery. And I think if you get that from either of those things from this fight, you don't know ball. You don't know this sport whatsoever. And I actually think your opinions on anything related to this sport are invalid because you think that. This was high level shit. This was the good stuff, as I like to call it. And they both delivered massively. I thought they were both absolutely superb. But what we got from this was that Leon adjusted. And I think someone is a fan of this podcast, because who last week was bigging up the idea of throwing more kicks to the legs, throwing teeps and obliques to the knees? That was me, Tom. And what did Leon do? Kicks to the legs, teeps and obliques to the knees. A wonderful kicking performance from Leon.
He obliged you, absolutely. Just left kick dominance, control, precision, and volume. A lot of volume. So that's all right, Leon. You can have that one on the house. We're all doing our part. We do it together. All right, we do it together.
Yeah.
No, great breakdown from you, Joe. You got it right. Leon won, as you predicted. I just got seduced by that Kamaru Usman style, and I miscalled it. But before we confirm that, perhaps we should go into it round by round and actually give our breakdown, because there were some scorecards out there all over the place, Joe. You saw it coming in on the live tweets. You saw it from various commentators in the sports. People were scoring each and every round all over the place. So let's see how we match up there.
Okay, cool. That sounds fair enough. Let's go through it. Should we go round by round, or should we give our scores first and then...
I would like to go round by round.
Okay, so round one. We open up, and basically Leon... We see the kicking game. It's the kick to the body. It's the front kick to the body from there as well. So he has the sort of left kick to the body. And what was really interesting, and this was a move that he did throughout the fight... I just want to break down this technical side of it first, because this was the main scoring for Leon in most of these rounds, was the kicking game, was that he would throw this left kick, and instead of then... So he'd throw the left kick from a southpaw stance, and then instead of then bringing his leg back to the southpaw stance, he would just plop it straight down, so that then he was in orthodox. And what that did was, it didn't give Usman the time then to then have Leon go backwards, and then Usman able to catch him on one leg. And it also meant that if he caught the leg, he wasn't going to catch Leon going backwards, turning back with it, and so that then he could push into a takedown from there. He threw the kick and just straight back down to the floor. So even if he caught it, he wasn't going to really be able to get going anywhere, except for in the third round. That was the only time he really got something like that going.
So what you're saying is Leon retained like a strong base, ready to sprawl, ready to defend a single leg.
Absolutely.
If that came in, and he was effective in doing that throughout the fight. But here in round one, something I noticed, Joe, was Usman came out originally in southpaw, and we know that ideally Usman would like to be fighting orthodox versus orthodox, and he would be ducking in for the single leg that would be right there ahead of him.
Yeah.
So I wondered, in going southpaw, was he trying to give himself the option to work off that side?
Right. Just to sort of like, I can't do it in my orthodox stance, which is my more natural dominant stance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, could it be replicated? Now that's how he started the round, but quickly transitioned back to a more orthodox. More orthodox heavy approach, and that's what seemed to really open up those body kicks for Leon. That left body kick. Then when Usman went back to orthodox stance, of course he then had the open side. I believe.
Yes, the open side. Yes,
had the open side, and that's when he was able to work that kind of baseball bat into Usman's body, and then also, of course, the inside low kick, which really started chopping up Usman's leg.
Do you think he should have switched to southpaw and then just relied on that right-hand jab? That might have been a bit more effective than staying in this orthodox stance, because, he got some nice moments going, but not consistently. There wasn't like a consistent pattern to his striking or a consistent beat rhythm that he could get going. And maybe if he was in that stance, maybe he could just work off that right hand a lot more.
Well, we know he loves that kind of like step through right straight. Infamous knockout of Jorge Masvidal.
Yes.
Where he just shuck through him with that. Absolutely spectacular. Perhaps he could have switched that into a jab. Of course, a jab has become a key weapon for him over this many years now of dominance that he's had. And I did feel like perhaps something was missing there, because as soon as he did switch into a more orthodox heavy approach, that seemed to open up the weapons for Leon. And then, Leon was able to keep his lateral movement going. Usman coming in towards him, trying to pressure him, and wasn't really able to close off the movement of Edwards, and didn't really threaten the takedown a whole lot.
No.
So that was a question mark I had, having seen that change and the impact it had for him in the first round. Perhaps if he was able to fight out of southpaw for more of the fight, maybe he could have had more success. But that's implying that I didn't score the fight for Usman, which I'm not going to confirm to you yet, Joe. I want to go through round by round, but here in the first round, it was a round I gave to Leon. The heaviest shots, the biggest moment in the round, where he kicked Usman in the body, and Usman kind of fell back. A big reaction from him, and overall outstruck him in that first round. I believe it was 20 total strikes to Usman's 13, or 20 significant strikes to Usman's 12. Quite easy round to score, I think.
Fair enough, yeah, absolutely. We move on to round two, and this is the round where Usman gets his first takedown of the fight, but we then start to see basically the changes that Edwards had made with the takedown defense, which was getting two hands on one, And
yeah, when Usman had backed him up against the cage in his patented favourite style, Usman pressuring him against the fence, reaching down then for a single leg, trying to lock the hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, Edwards has found a solution,
which is incredible. It was actually
two hands on one. You're saying
2 hands on one, and it was coming from a couple times. He had a really interesting one, which was very reminiscent of Shavkat Rakhmonov against Jeff Neal, where Rakhmonov would do it in the offensive stance, where he's pressing Neal against the cage, where he has, let's say, a right-hand overhook of Jeff Neal's left arm, and then that right hand is coming through to then grab Neal's right hand, and then he takes his left hand and gets the second hand there onto Jeff Neal's arm from there. Edwards was doing that in a defensive stance then as well, to break the grip, and then anytime he couldn't get the overhook, it was just immediate 2 hands on one. You're not getting those hands together whatsoever. You're not going to be able to take me down from there. I'm pressing down on you from there. And it was a tremendous performance from him in terms of that defensive takedowns. Now, round 2, Usman upped the output, but I've got to say, I thought maybe people might think I'm being biased, but I think he whiffed on a lot of shots, man. Like, I thought some of this, a lot of it was blocked. A lot of it was like headhunting that Leon was sort of like parrying out the way. Some of it landed, but it wasn't as damaging. Whereas I thought Leon's striking, whilst at a reduced capacity, was sharper. You know, it was a lot sharper. And
the bigger impacts with it, again, those leg kicks to the body. He was really whiffing on. He was really ripping into Usman, especially later on in the round. Nonetheless, as you say, Usman he had a better round in round 2. I thought it was a close one.
Yeah.
There's a big right hand from Usman.
Yes.
Which, you know, that reminded me of the good old days.
Yes.
Usman pre-knockout, another fabled fighter.
Yeah. But I think the problem that I have with it, though, is that also then Edwards in that round, he landed the knee, didn't he, in that round?
Yeah,
and then
big impact.
Landed the knee, and he also landed, was it a left uppercut that he landed in that round as well, if I remember correctly? So again, it's like, yeah, Usman landed the big shot there, but I think he was sloppy with the rest of it, whereas Leon landed some equally big shots, but maybe didn't have that level of output. So really, I think you could score that round either way. For me personally, I gave it to Leon Edwards.
Yeah, same. I had it as a close round, but I should say that I watched the fight twice.
Yes.
Nothing's changed about how I saw the fight. I scored the first for Leon, and I scored the second for Leon as well. Okay,
cool. First rounds, you're saying, not the first the watches.
Yeah, so on the first watch, I scored it the first and the second for Leon, and on the second watch through 2.
Okay. Now we move into round 3. Now this is where we started to get into the controversy of this fight, where Leon got a point deduction in this round for grabbing the fence. First of all, correct decision, Tom. Point deduction there, Leon.
No controversy from me, Joe. It was. I love a bit of this ill-tempered nastiness. I loved it when Usman came running across the ring before the round started. Yeah. And Edwards was like, Hold on, brother.
Yeah.
You know, we're fighting here.
Yeah.
Let's abide by the rules while we do so, which was pretty rich because, let's be honest, Leon was playing a kind of bingo. He was testing the ref. We'll have one of these, one of those.
Yeah, it was real. It was real. Having his ordering the Chinese, isn't it? Going like, I'll have a spring roll. I'll kick him in the dick. I'll point him in the eyes, and I'll get the chili beef. Like, it was all over the place. It was just like.
Lovely stuff.
It was very bitty, wasn't it? It was a very bitty fight at that point.
And I love that bad blood. That's what starts to come out when you've got the best meeting the best, and there's just fine lines that separate them.
Yeah.
So yeah, no controversy on the point deduction. They said it was like the first time, and he hadn't had a warning. But something I wanted to pick up on there was that it wasn't actually the first time. It was the second time in the fight. Yeah. The first time had happened for him to get up, having been taken down by Usman in the third round. Yeah. He used the fence getting up.
Yeah.
Then Usman went to return him to the mat, and he grabbed it again, and that was the really blatant one.
Yeah.
Now, we have to mention that for him to get up in the first place, he used the fence.
Yes.
and I don't mean he wall walked, Joe. I
No.
mean he Spider-Man'd up the fence, and no question about a point deduction. The question would be, should you give Usman the position? There was a bit of debate about this from the commentary.
you get the point or the position. Now, at that stage, I actually think it's for the best that it's not in the fighter's decision of like...
Hold on. Yeah. Now, does it impact your thinking the fact that Edwards did also use the cage to get up? So
what do you mean?
The cage, so he grabbed the cage to get up, having been taken down. Then Usman went to return him to the mat, and he grabbed the cage for a second time to stop himself being taken down again.
But he's getting the points twice. He's getting the points deduction for that second one, though, isn't he? Because that's what he was being judged off of.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it seems to be that this is the standing of you get the point deduction and you don't get the position. Which, if I'm a fighter, I'm taking that point deduction all day, every day. Like, there's no doubt about that. Because even if you're losing that round, in the judge's eyes, then, like, you could suddenly be ahead, and that becomes a 10-8 round immediately. You know, it kind of undoes all the work that the other guy's done. So, yeah, I would take that personally. But
if you were Usman, you mean?
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
There's no
especially
question about that.
We know how hard it is to get 10-8s in the sport.
Yeah.
And have the point deduction and just edge out the round 10-8, better than just grinding them out on top for the rest of the round.
Is this
also
also
10-9?
Is this also the round as well where Usman got the takedown off the single leg, where he went to the single leg, put his leg back, and then he lifted it back up again as a sort of like pendulum motion to bring him down, because that was a superb takedown from Usman.
Yeah,
and it showed that he had to go to that level of, his bag of tricks to get Leon actually down as well.
Yeah, he really dove in on that single leg. Don't have it in my notes here if it was in this round, but he did secure one takedown, so it probably was that one. Overall, a pretty competitive round again. Usman applying more pressure. He was really going.
He was really going for it, wasn't
he? Yeah, I believe we had heard from Coach Whitman that he basically wanted Usman to chase him down, not allow any space. And we started to see that from Usman. Lovely to see a fighter responding to their coach, and as he should when you got Trevor Whitman in your corner. How did you score it?
I gave that round to Usman.
So on first watch, I scored it for Leon Edwards.
Yeah.
On second watch, I scored it for Kamaru Usman.
What was the change for you?
It was really noticing. I have to say, I mean, Usman had secured the takedown. He'd secured a takedown, and he was on top. And I was really crediting Leon with getting out from being underneath Usman. I was crediting how fast he was able to get up in my first watch through. And on the second watch through, when I noticed that he grabbed the cage to do that, to achieve that, then I discredited that takedown defense.
Yeah.
Which is something that I scored, because obviously his takedown defense was what allowed Leon to get off his strikes.
Yeah.
And was a key element in the improvements that Leon made coming in here. So, yeah, that was a big element.
I thought.
And then,
go on.
Sorry.
No, go on.
Please, Joe.
No, what kind of swayed me to Usman in there was that, like, damage-wise, I thought it was kind of equal. But it was the fact that Usman was really pressing the action, was pressing forward, and was like, yeah, some of his shots were whiffing, but like he wasn't just throwing single shots. He was throwing a big action to harangue him against the cage and then to throw something afterwards. And there was a couple times where he caught Usman up against the fence, but
caught Edwards.
Sorry, caught Edwards up against the fence. Sorry, my mistake. But again, there's just this continued problem that sort of slowed down in this round, but it came back in rounds 4 and 5. It goes back to the kicking game of Edwards, which was Usman didn't check a single kick in this fight because he was so worried about that head kick. And as Leon credited him, I couldn't get it. Like, there was no way I was going to get it. And that's something interesting as well, that Edwards has shown that he's not just going to like wing something and put himself in an awkward position if he knows it's not there. You know what I mean? And it's like, if you go to the second fight and you see that finish, the fact that he waited and he didn't just like was throwing wild shit because it's just, I'm down or I've got to try and get a finish here and put yourself in a difficult position. He waited and he tried to bide his time.
Yeah.
And he tried to do it in this fight, and he did unload it in the end, but it was still like wasn't that as close.
Only one significant attempt at it that I saw, perhaps two, one shot earlier on. I mean, great from both fighters. I wonder, I mean, Edwards, he would probably take that given he had free license to pick apart Usman's lead leg and of course work the body. Not that we really saw it tell much in Usman outside of that big reaction we mentioned earlier on in the fight. The other thing I just recall that swayed this round for me, it was a big elbow that Usman landed really late in the round.
Yes.
So right now we've got the scores even. That would be a 10-8 then for Usman. Let's move on to the championship rounds.
Rounds 4 and 5. Let's start here. Output-wise, throughout the whole fight, Edwards was incredibly consistent. Like round 1, 20 significant strikes, 2, 23, round 3, 24, and then round 4, 25. So it's most of the fight so far, so he's upping his output ever so slightly, but he's fighting at a very consistent rhythm. Whereas round 4 for Usman, 14 strikes landed, wasn't really getting anything going. And at this point, I actually really feel like the kicking game of Edwards came into its own, those body shots. And I think that actually is where we see the damage on Usman, is that his output was so low in this round. I really think he was wearing those kicks and really struggling with them. And I think that's what I give Edwards that credit. And then certain moments of this round, it's starting to open up the hands as well. His striking was so much more advanced than Usman's, and I just didn't feel that Usman had that real clobbering power to get him back up against the fence. And I was incredibly impressed also with Edwards not getting caught up against the fence. Getting away from the fence was incredible. This
was a real key change in the fight, and perhaps you can attribute it to the fact that it was at sea level instead of at altitude. I mean, Leon's lateral movement was excellent throughout the fight, and it was basically him peppering, and sometimes a bit more than peppering Usman as Usman tried to apply that pressure and walk him down. And ultimately Edwards was too fast with those strikes as well. He really had a lot of pep, a lot of punch, and he clearly, he outmatched Usman physically.
Edwards looked really big. He looks close to middleweight size at certain points. He looked like a big guy in there.
Now, it sounds like you plump for Usman here in the fourth.
No, Edwards in the fourth.
Sorry, I meant to say Edwards. Yeah. What I found interesting, though, is that the bookmakers, halfway through this round, they were looking at Usman as the favourite.
I think probably because of that points deduction, bringing it even, greater experience.
Sean Anik announced after the fourth round that was a clear Usman round for him. And that's what Anik came out and said. And I questioned it at the time. Is this my English bias shining through? Is this the Bisping syndrome?
Yeah.
But no, I also scored it for Leon Edwards. He got off more offense. That's why he didn't succumb to Usman's. Usman couldn't implement basically. And then we went into the fifth, and it was more of the same for me. Edwards very comfortable. Usman, applying the pressure, but just not getting enough off. It's all well and good taking up strong positions against the cage, threatening takedowns, but if you're not doing any damage and the other guy is, then you can't win the round. Ultimately, 28 significant strikes for Usman's 20. Usman just 1 of 6 takedowns and didn't secure it for very long at all. But another note on the commentary during the fifth round, Joe. So in the same round, a certain Michael Bisping first exclaimed that Usman was fading.
Yeah.
So only 1 minute later, scream non-stop pressure from Usman.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, do you think there's some grounds to the criticism of the commentary here? Gaethje, post-fight, he said it was a
Gaethje's but Gaethje's Usman's teammate, so then there's his bias. That's ridiculous. I'm not having that. No, listen, I think, how much do you think we really know what's going on in the fight, Tom. Like, and when I mean that, I mean, how much is this hurting for them? Like, how much have they got left? Like, realistically, like, I would say we know about 50%, and there's just this unknowable thing of like, man, Leon's really ripping him to the body. Oh my God, Usman must really be struggling. Or is it the case Leon's ripping him to the body, and Usman's like, fuck me, man, I've got to hold this for as long as I can, and then I'm going to have to just burst and like come forward and try and get this round from him, because they must have both realised I'm not getting this guy out of here, so I have to try and like take this round from him. And I just felt that every time Usman pressed forward and he was just like, right, I've got to go, I've got to take this round, Edwards just had answers for him. That kick, that body kick, and then he did start throwing that head kick in the fifth. If I remember correctly, he threw it twice, and that was like a real, like, even though it didn't land, it was like, hold on, I'm not getting caught with that again. I need to wait, and I need to be patient, because also it's just like, it paused Usman. It meant that he had to reset and start again, and then Edwards can then start going to the body and legs again.
It sounds like we're unanimous then in declaring Edwards the legitimate winner of the fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question about it. Just a 10-8 for Usman because of the deduction in round 3. Otherwise, 4 rounds go to Leon Edwards.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so same for me. Both watches through. Apart from the first one, I gave all of the rounds to Edwards, and I couldn't really understand what the controversy was about.
Oh, by the way, also, can I just say that, like, if you give Usman an extra round, I'm not mad at that. Like, round 2, like, I'm not mad at someone giving that. Like, that's
close round.
It's a very close round. Yeah. But like, people going like, that's a robbery, that's a this, like, I'll put it straight out there, you're a dickhead if you think like that.
Mad take. I mean, yeah, as I say, first watch through, I've scored it 49-45 with Leon every round. Can
you imagine if that scorecard was read out, if there was a 49-45?
I mean, Joe, what we saw is basically Kamaru Usman is human.
Yeah.
He was brought crashing down to earth here.
Was he? Or is Edwards as good as him?
I mean, in the prior fight, Joe.
Yeah.
Of course, fantastic knockout from Edwards. We don't need to go into that again. I would love to.
Yeah.
But we don't need to talk about it again. But ultimately, in that first fight, Usman takes it 4 times out of 5.
All right, listen. Kamaru was winning that fight. But I've got to say, I actually think there's a bit of a misremembering of that fight, which is that 5th round, when he lands the head kick and all that. It's just like, it was a pretty even round. I'd say it was probably going Leon's way anyway.
I thought Usman took that round off. I thought Usman thought he was coasting to the finish line. I think he felt like he had seen everything Edwards had to offer.
Sure.
He stopped backing him up. He stopped clinching him. He stopped imposing the game that he was so famous for.
Yeah, but also Leon did press forward in that round. Leon did press forward in that 5th round. He was controlling the centre. And I will also say that the 4th round of that fight, it was very even up into the takedown. And then that takedown, Usman didn't really get a huge amount off. And then it ended on the feet as well. Like, Leon got back up, broke the takedown from there, and then Usman just pressed forward from there. And again, it's just like, I think that fight was a lot closer than what people realise. I still had Usman winning that fight 3-1 at that point, but he got knocked out. All that stuff is irrelevant at that stage. He got knocked out. And now we look at this one, I think that second fight is not relevant in the slightest anymore.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, Usman is no longer he's no longer an immortal. He's no longer, he has been so dominant, Joe. I mean, yeah, of course he's had some great matchups with Colby, but ultimately it kind of overcome Colby as a challenger. Nobody needs to see that again.
No.
Although we might, the way that Dana White's going.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute.
Perhaps.
We'll get to that. But let's keep giving Leon his roses. He's the best welterweight in the world. He's the best welterweight in the world. And right now, if we go off of where would he stand in terms of all-time great welterweights, he's starting to get up there, man. Like 2 wins over Usman, that puts you in the, he's not on the level of Usman because he doesn't have the resume of the title defenses. Doesn't maybe not on the level of Woodley perhaps, but he's starting to get there. And if he gets another 1 or 2, man, like, he's going to be top 5, top 3 maybe.
All right.
That's what I'm talking. Bro, I'm not talking. Hold on. Yeah.
hold on now, because we're going to be accused of bias pretty soon, and rightly so. Yeah. We are a little bit biased here. But I just have to reality check things a little bit. Usman defended the belt, 5-6 times, knocked out, broke Colby Covington's jaw, knocked out the boxer Jorge Masvidal, who was perceived as a challenge, knocked out Gilbert Burns, his former training partner. We know a fantastic jiu-jitsu practitioner with heavy hands himself. Obviously, removed Tyron Woodley from any discussion of being in that kind of GOAT status at welterweight. Leon's got a ways to go to.
Of course. Like, I'm not saying he's anywhere near that yet. Like, Usman's still the clear number 2. Okay, that's fair, right? And I think that position is pretty certain. Come on, man, you're not going to say he's better than GSP. I'm not having that, and I'm still saying GSP's the GOAT, so it doesn't matter what you say in terms of him being the greatest welterweight. But
Kamaru Usman's career is not done. Perhaps we should talk about him first. He didn't hang them up as some suspected he might. He, for me, is a few fights removed from a title shot. I'm looking down the rankings for him for a couple of fights.
That's the fight that's Wonder Boy's called for it. I'd watch that. That'd be a fascinating matchup in some ways. Like, if it stays on the feet, like, what's going to happen? It's not going to stay on the feet, but like, it could be a really interesting barometer of 2 old vets going at it, and I think it'd be an interesting style matchup.
All right, so if we're going with that, then we've got to look at the other men figuring at the top.
There's no clear contender. There's no clear contender.
But Bilal Muhammad, what are we going to do with him?
Well, apparently it's him versus Shavkat Rakhmonov is being pilled. Man, poor Bilal. Like, he's just going to have to, like, kill everyone. He's going to have to win 30 fights in a row before he gets a title shot, isn't he?
Joe, are you okay with it? Are you fine with it?
Yeah, because I think Rakhmonov will win. But, I think so. Look, we need to be clear. Covington's been set up for this title fight by Dana. He's saying, he's clearly the next guy, or whatever. How? What's that being based off of? That's being based off of 2 losses to Usman, his performances in those fights.
It started straight after the fight. They'd flown Colby in, and somehow he's there, and he's he's the
backup
challenger elect.
Yeah,
you know how they do that. Like, Volkanovski was there ready after Makhachev beat
Pereira when he beat Strickland. Yeah.
And I'm like, what's Colby? Why are they zooming on Colby Covington? What's he got to do with any of this?
Yeah, exactly.
They're not gonna match him up with
Leon. They might as well have brought Max Holloway out.
And then he was given the question straight away in his post-fight interview, and he dismissed it as laughable, the suggestion that Colby could be the next contender. He said he wanted to see what happens, the winner versus Jorge Masvidal versus Gilbert Burns. I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Love that. That. Gilbert, for me, convincing win over Masvidal, that would be enough.
Yeah.
That would be enough. And of course, with the backstory between Edwards and Masvidal, the 2-piece and the soda, that'd be a fun fight, Joe. That'd be good for Leon.
It'd be good for Leon. I'm going to just tell you this. When Conor McGregor knocks out Michael Chandler later this year, it will be him versus Leon Edwards. Like, I think whatever you're thinking now, yeah. Like, by the way, if Masvidal beats Burns, forget Colby. Like, he ain't getting a title shot anytime soon. It's going to be Edwards versus Masvidal, and they're going to be praying Masvidal wins that so they can set up Conor versus Masvidal. Like, their 4D chess is going like this, and this. If then they do that, and Edwards would beat Masvidal, I'm sorry to say, like, striking wise, Masvidal I don't think has enough for Edwards. Like, there's nothing for him there in terms of, like, a challenge other than I'm just going to beat you up for 25 minutes to make you feel bad. You could then do Edwards versus Conor in the UK. Imagine that in Ireland, Croke Park. Oh my days, son. Oh my days.
It's so exciting, Joe. I'm so happy that we've reached this point.
Yeah.
and that Leon has brought us here. It's the matchups are absolutely tantalising, and then you just think about the kind of fighters they could bring over on the undercard. Amazing. Of course, we got some big fighters coming through.
Absolutely. But this is the interesting thing, though, is that do you want Edwards fighting the same guys Usman fought? Because, like, realistically, he should have his own guys that he should be standing up against, which is Bilal Muhammad, Gilbert Burns if he beats Masvidal, Shavkat Rakhmonov. Like, those, if he beat those three or fought those three, I think that's a fantastic three to face. I have no interest in the Colby Covington fight, also because I'm going to put this out there. I think he beats Covington.
I suspect he beats Covington as well. I wouldn't say I have no interest in it, though. I think it could be a good test. I'm just thinking, like the pace that Covington's able to implement. I think
Covington gets rocked in every single fight he has.
Yeah.
And Leon is the best striker in that sort of... Was he the best striker in the welterweight division? I mean, Jack Della Maddalena might be the only other one on his level in terms of striking. I mean, all elements. I'm talking the kicking game, knees, elbows, everything.
Well, we saw it all on display in this fight. I think it's hard to argue otherwise when you've just put on such a clinic against... Well, a clinic still, it might be a little bit strong, but such a display against the former dominant champ. I would be interested in seeing him fight Colby. I would pick Edwards, but there's some question in my mind there. It's just that Colby has to earn it.
He has to earn it. Thank you.
He has to win some. If he went and just dealt with the Bilal problem,
yeah, exactly,
then I'm all right. I'd probably be all right with it, Yeah. But if he goes and beats Khamzat Chimaev, I'm ready to go. I mean, you definitely can fight the champ after that. If he goes and beats Shavkat Rakhmonov, absolutely, Colby.
Look, you're
welcome.
You have to figure this is just like, what's the more impressive wins? Is it beating Jeff Neal and Bilal Muhammad? Is it beating Neil Magny and Jorge Masvidal? Or is it beating Jorge Masvidal 2 years ago and then doing nothing?
Well, let's just look at Colby. I mean, it's not just beating Jorge Masvidal and doing nothing. Before that, of course, he lost to Usman. He beat a totally washed, finished Woodley, who had already, people.
Oh God, I forgot about that fight. Yeah.
Before that, he had lost to Usman again. The fight that earned him the Usman fight in the first place, Joe, Robbie Lawler.
Yeah. And then he had the interim title shot over RDA, where RDA rocked him in that fight as well, man. Like, what year was that? 2017, 2018?
2018, June of 2018.
It's not relevant anymore.
So I mean, the other wins on his record: Dong Hyun Kim, Brian Barberena. Now I know you probably give. We'll be talking about that very shortly. I'm very excited about that, Joe. But Colby's record is just absolutely woeful.
It's absolutely woeful. It's abysmal. Like, it really is. Right, let's move on, because we've been talking about this for nearly 40 minutes.
I could talk 40 minutes more, Joe. I'm just so happy.
Absolutely. Justin Gaethje defeats Rafael Fiziev by majority decision. Gaethje said, "Enjoy me while you got me. I'm making one last run at the title." I kind of got weirdly caught up in this fight, watching Gaethje and seeing him make those adjustments, and I thought Gaethje was superb in this fight, and he clearly had scouted Fiziev. It wasn't...
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now look, Joe, there were some commentators going into this fight. They predicted that Justin Gaethje would get found out, a la Tony Ferguson, that he was washed, and it was going to be a steep decline. What do you have to say to those commentators out there who made that prediction after this fight?
It's all well and good you throwing this at me, but if we were podding last week, we would have gotten into it and you would have fallen on my side. I know you would have, because I know you fall into these narratives, and it's easy for now for you to be sniping at a distance. Listen, man, I actually don't think that's that far off.
My God.
I really don't.
This was... Hold on, brother.
And
this
also,
was phenomenal showing from Justin Gaethje.
I
thought he looked amazing.
He
came in with a game plan. He stuck to it. I thought it was really like a highlight show for Justin Gaethje. And as you say, we should enjoy him while we've got him.
Yeah, I just... when I was going through Gaethje's fights leading up to it, I was just thinking, like, When was the last time we saw the classic Justin Gaethje? It was probably the Edson Barbosa fight. Like, we haven't really seen... And he's just become like this counter-striker, and I was just like, man, I don't know if that's going to work against Fiziev. But it did! He had beautiful blocking in this. Blocking and counter hooks off the breaks. Like, he would end exchanges with these hooks. It was a phenomenal performance. And he got a takedown! He got a takedown for the heck of it. What a man. Justin Gaethje is.
That was a great moment. We do have to actually look, though, at the scoring. Some question marks there. Be honest, Joe. After 2 rounds, how did you have it?
1-1.
You did give the second round to Gaethje.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. People aren't giving it to Gaethje.
No. There's a lot of people out there who felt that Fiziev won the first and the second round.
No.
I mean,
I thought the second was competitive, but no.
And that's not post-fight, you're saying that. This is pen to paper.
In the moment, I'm watching this fight, and it's going into the third, and I say to myself, it's 1-1, this is the deciding round.
Now, the interesting thing here, we talked about we don't know how fighters are reacting, how they're feeling. I imagine that Justin Gaethje was feeling pretty bad after getting kicked in the stomach so many times. I know that I would be.
Yeah.
But we didn't really see it from him.
No.
We didn't really see any big reactions. And I think in the moment, I gave those strikes a lot of credit. First time I watched it, and I've only watched it one time, I scored the first and the second for Rafael Fiziev.
Oh, that's fair. I think that second round's close, and I think his work is excellent in it. But yeah, I gave it to Gaethje. I thought he really stepped up the game plan from there with the hooks from there, and then also bringing in the uppercut and jab in the third round. Just jabbed him to bits, and I think there's
the third round is something else.
Yeah,
the third round is something else. But the second round, Joe, 32 significant strikes for Fiziev versus the 27 for Gaethje. Just walk us through a little bit more. What made you lean for Gaethje here in the second?
So I think it was also, I found that with Fiziev's offense as well, was that you cite that with the 5 extra strikes going to Fiziev. For me, I still felt like the noticeable damage and the noticeable big shots were coming from Gaethje in that round, for me personally. Yeah. So that's why I gave him that round.
Well, it ultimately came down to strikes to the head versus strikes to the body. And if you're not getting any tell from the opponent, as in you're not getting any reactions, there's nothing you can score in terms of damage. It certainly looked damaging. But we didn't, let's just be clear about it. It was 20 shots that that Fiziev threw to the body and legs of Gaethje in the second round. 18 of those, by the way, to the body. Yeah. Predominantly that piston-like kick that you highlighted going in. Whereas Gaethje landed 22 to the head in the second round. And ultimately, where do we see the damage? It was in those head strikes, in the absence of any reaction from Gaethje. So I can, I think it is fair to score that for him. The third round then, Joe.
Yeah, this is when Gaethje brought in the jab that's really sort of was crunching Fiziev's face, and then the uppercuts as well. It was a tremendous wrinkle that he added to the game plan. I actually also think we need to talk about Fiziev here, and this is... I think he's got a bit of a gas tank problem. We saw it in the Bobby Green fight, we saw it a bit in the RDA fight, and we've seen it here. He just seemed to run out of any sort of stamina, and became a bit more of an easy target for Gaethje to land upon, and even getting to the point where he got a takedown in that round. I think Fiziev, I thought Fiziev was excellent in this fight, but it just became a bit ragged, and he became a bit flat-footed. Kicks didn't have the same pop, and just seemed to have slightly fell off.
Well, it is round. a very explosive kick that he throws. It's kind of Barbosa-esque, and I think that's very energy intensive. Unlike, for example, the more, let's say, sophisticated kicking game of Leon Edwards. Yeah, which certainly seems to conserve the energy. Third round, Joe, 48 strikes to the head. more than doubling up on round 2 for Justin Gaethje. Significant proportion of those were the uppercuts following the jab. There was a few sequences he landed the same combo again and again. Some amazing slow motion footage of Fiziev kind of reacting to these, like the uppercut coming up and Fiziev taking the full brunt of them. It was a brutalizing in round 3. So much so that I question whether it could have been a 10-8 for Justin Gaethje. Given the damage that he did.
I never got that feeling. No, I never felt like that. I always felt that Fiziev was still in there. He was still in the fight. It wasn't like you got like completely mashed into the ground. But I just think Gaethje just pulled away from him in that round.
There are very few fights that stay standing that end in 10-8s. I mean, of course, there was the takedown, but it was just for a bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly, for a laugh.
Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
Just the damage, Joe. The damage that Fiziev was wearing, and the fact he was repeatedly landing the same combo with the same devastating impacts. Brought about a question of a 10-8 to my mind. Anyway, if you score the fight as a whole, it was convincing from Gaethje and a vintage performance. Absolutely fantastic stuff.
Absolutely.
He wants to fight for the title.
He needs to beat someone else. I think you close the loop on the violence weight tournament and do him versus Poirier too.
Yeah, it was mentioned straight away.
I mean, who else? He really?
Was very quick to say he doesn't want to fight Dariush because he likes him.
Yeah, they've been teammates before.
Sure, Joe.
Sure.
That's not the only reason.
Yeah, that's not the only reason. No.
I mean, it would be win over Poirier. You're gonna get the shot off that, of course. But again, it is holding up the rankings. But this was a bit of pushback from Gaethje on our recent dialogue about the rankings in lightweight. So good on him.
Yes, good for him. And Fiziev, back down you go. I don't know, Jalen Turner.
Oh, what a mismatch in terms of range and style. Sounds
Dan Hooker.
I mean, I'm not against the Jalen Turner fight. I just think we got a relatively small lightweight in terms of stature versus the biggest man in the division.
Gamrot.
Dan Hooker. I think that's illegal.
What?
Illegal. You can't do that to Dan. I just think that's outrageous.
Yeah,
that's going to be a war of attrition. Do you not remember Hooker fighting
Barbosa? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you want to see it again? That would be.
Why not? It'd be a laugh. Anyway, let's move on. Gunnar Nelson came back and defeated Brian Barberena, first round submission armbar. Bit of a weird fight.
Now, Joe, some commentators out there.
Again, this is all very well and good, but you ducked it last week.
Joe, I told you, submission, Gunnar Nelson, just cash the check, bro. What are you playing at? What is going on with you and Brian Barberena?
Do you know what it is? Is that like Barberena gets matched up with these guys where I'm like, they must be washed. Listen, these are his last 4 fights. Matt Brown, Robbie Lawler, RDA, Gunnar Nelson. I'm like, Gunnar Nelson, his last fight, he was rubbish in that last fight. He's 35 years old, or 34 years old, sorry, I should say. Seems to be like not there anymore. What's he playing at? Yeah, Barberena for me. And then it's just like RDA got smoked by Fiziev. Yeah, man, RDA, I think he's done. That's the problem. And then the problem is that these two guys come in and wrestle him, and then it's just like, oh, it's all done for Barberena. If it stays on the feet, like, I don't think RDA or Gunnar Nelson beat Barberena because I just think his chin will just walk through whatever strikes they throw. But like, as soon as they wrestle him, it's like, oh, that's it. He's done. So, yeah, fair play for Gunnar Nelson. Good win. I have no interest in seeing him fight a contender of any sorts.
No. Easy now. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves.
No, but you know what I mean, though.
No, definitely no fighting contenders for Gunnar, please.
Yeah.
But yeah, like crushing cans. Let's go. I'll tell you who's a can, Joe. Brian Barberena.
Yeah.
I think it's time to confront it, Joe. Take down the posters. All right. Take down the posters. put the tissues back in the box.
Yeah.
You gotta let it go, because there are levels to this, and Gunnar Nelson's level is many tiers above Brian Barberena. It's an outrage to me and the nation of Iceland that you could possibly pick Brian Barberena. And let me tell you one more thing, Joe.
Yeah.
Because I respect you as a man and a fellow commentator on this podcast, I was asked by a friend of mine, an Icelander no less, for one outside pick that might cash.
Yeah.
He told me that Barberena, he was 4-1 against to win this fight, and I said, all right. And I listened to your breakdown, Joe. I mentioned the weight cutting, I mentioned the size, and I told him to put his money, the Icelander, on Brian Barberena.
No way! Why did you do that?
In terms of the odds, I would personally put Barberena at less than 4-1.
Yeah.
I thought there was no question about this.
The bet to put money on was Veronica Hardy, obviously, opening the card when she won her fight. Yeah, I mean, there's... Yeah.
Are you sorry, Joe? Are you sorry for what you did?
No. Don't back down, double down. And that's why I'm saying
all right,
Gunnar Nelson versus Kevin Holland.
Interesting fight.
Interesting, yes. I knew you'd like that.
Interesting fight. I mean, Kevin Holland is still thereabouts. Of course, contender
ranked.
would be a... No, I know, but he's a problem.
He's a problem
for certain matchups. You've got the size that Gunnar would have to negate. Oh, I don't know, Joe. I'm not comfortable.
Alex Morono?
Yeah.
Morono's good, man.
I'll tell you who Gunnar would love to fight again. Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Oh, I'd watch that again.
The eye poker, as he's known
here. Yeah, not a fan. Not a fan, is he? Right, we're running out of time, Tom. So let's not talk about Jennifer Maia defeating Casey O'Neill by unanimous decision. That was rubbish. Let's talk about Marvin Vettori. By the way, I said this to you before we recorded. I watched 15 minutes of the exact same exchange. That fight was just...
Maia O'Neill we're talking about now.
Maia just like 1, 2, 3, uppercut, jab on the break, off I go. And O'Neill just... wailing.
It blew O'Neill's mind, Joe.
Yeah, and she's just like, what am I supposed to do?
Her mind.
What am I supposed to do here? And then she didn't do anything, threw the same strikes, straights who were going nowhere near. And then she's just like, she keeps angling off. Maybe I should throw a head kick. Nah, I won't bother with doing that. And then with 1 minute to go, you finally throw the head kick. And I was like, oh, now you do it. So, did not like that.
Woeful display.
Woeful.
I can't say I could offer more insight than that.
Let's move on.
Just to clarify, Joe,
go on.
Here, so far in the card, you've got one fight right out of 4.
I got the main event, which is the most important one. So that's all that matters.
Can you bring it back with this final fight? Vettori Dolidze.
Hold on. Out of 5 fights, right, so you picked Vettori to beat Dolidze, and that's what happened. I picked Dolidze. You got 2 fights out of 5. Which I know is more than one. I picked
Gunnar Nelson by submission. That's 2 points for me. And then I called it Marvin, the Italian stallion, the Italian dream.
He didn't win this fight.
Just easy money, Joe.
He didn't win that fight. Do you think he won that fight?
I think he won that fight.
How?
On first watching, he won the second and third round. He
won the second. He didn't win the third. I just you got to give it on damage, man. And Dolidze landed more damage for me. Anyway, I was very confused by this fight. Because Marvin Vettori learned a new kick and he just wanted to do that kick over and over again. That sort of like right lead leg kick to the thigh. He just seemed to think like, if I make his leg really red, maybe I'll win the fight. And then Dolidze was just like, I don't know, I'll just throw a big right hand. Dolidze throwing naked right hands, no setups there. I was not impressed with that.
No. But what I was impressed with was him backing up Marvin Vettori and headhunting him like a beast.
Yeah.
What is going on? I've never seen Vettori react like that.
No.
I've just never seen him get kind of like out meat-headed.
No. That tells you something about Dolidze, doesn't it? That he's got some dynamite in those mitts, isn't he? That's
he was troubling Vettori. Absolutely troubling him in the first round. But then I thought Vettori kind of adjusted. And in the end of the fight, of course, far outstruck him in the second and third round, almost doubling him up in both rounds. Quite comfortable win for me, for Marvin Vettori.
What next for Vettori? You can't get Whittaker or Adesanya or Pele.
No, it's certainly not.
He's too far away from that.
Yeah.
Strickland, come on, fam. Come on, fam.
Who'd you pick for that fight?
Vettori.
Yeah, that's right. You've learned.
No, it's not that. I'm
going to teach you, boy. I'm going to teach you.
You just know that I dislike Sean Strickland that much.
Vettori by decision. Put your house on it.
Right. Prelims. Should we talk about the prelims very quickly?
A brief nod to Jack Shaw's debut at featherweight. However, with the caveat that it was after the first round against Makwan Amirkhani, who has honestly meme level ability to fatigue somewhere after sitting on the stool after the first round. Totally different fighter again in the second round. Totally different. He won the first round for me, Amirkhani. I was a bit concerned for sure.
Yeah, same.
But it was all very comfortable in the end. Amirkhani just obliging him and falling into that choke.
Absolutely. Mohamed Mokaev defeats Rafael Fiziev by rear naked choke. Interesting fight. I mean, he did not want to tap to that knee bar, did he? His knee was going completely the wrong direction, which is not supposed to go that way. Didn't tap, and then got a rear naked choke with one leg, basically.
Unbelievable. It's the thing that we credit fighters for, that tremendous heart and clarity to push through something like that. I do wonder, though, was it the right decision? Just 22 years old, and he's got what could be life-changing injuries to his knee. It's not easy to come back from that. It's never the same. He's so reliant on it. Truly incredible toughness and heart to come through and then choke him out. What a savage. Yeah. But I didn't enjoy that knee bar, Joe.
Filio looks good, by the way. He looks like a talent. That guy, Rafael Filio. I think Mokaev should take a bit of time off. 4 fights in a year.
I don't think you need to worry about that, Joe.
No, he needs to. It's. I liked also the fact that he did actually throw some ground and pound as well this time. Mokaev, I was impressed by that little wrinkle he added. But Filio looks a problem. Keep him in there and see what he's got.
I mean, when he does come back, young Mokaev, another upcoming star that we can partially claim for the UK, if not more, if he's happy.
No. I'm taking full claim for that. Yeah.
Where are you gonna put him, Joe?
Ooh.
What do you do with a man like Mohamed Mokaev? He's ranked 12 right now.
Has he not moved up in the rankings?
I'm trying.
Vettori's gone up.
Vettori has nudged ahead of Cannonier, rightly so. Pedro Munoz has gone up.
Oh, what about this? What about Mokaev versus Matt Schnell?
Yeah, I mean, I'm for it.
It's a name.
It makes sense. I mean, he smushes him.
Yeah.
Smushes Matt Schnell. Just
has he gone past Schnell?
Has he gone past Schnell? For me, yes. With the streak he's on, with the way that he's won most of these fights, yeah. For me, he should be one shot away from a title shot, and I don't know if a win over Matt Schnell is the fight that gets him there.
Wait, hold on.
What about Kai Kara France?
I was just about to say this. Kai Kara France has been booked for a fight. I need to look up Amir Albazi.
That's a nice opportunity for Albazi, who's also surging right now. The thing is, there's no profile to Nicolau, to...
no.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Royval.
Oh, that'd be a good shout. I'd give him Schnell. He's still young. Still a young man, and... He
wants to be the youngest champ, Joe. You don't do that blowing out your knee, though, so let's slow it down a bit, and yeah, nice comfortable win over Matt Schnell. One more, and then... Let's go. You
Tom,
can fight Pantoja.
Should we do a quick preview of the Fight Night main event that's coming up this Saturday? Because we looked at this card and we ain't talking about that card. Well, they've done it again, a bantamweight main event in a Fight Night in front of a crowd as well. Marlon Chito Rivera is back and he's facing Corey Sandhagen. In any other timeline, this is a number one contenders fight, but poor Chito, he's going to have to kill 30 men like Bilal Muhammad to get a title shot.
Despite being a very exciting finisher, unlike Bilal Muhammad.
Crushes people. He crushes people. He's honestly, Marlon Vera is just vicious. That's always the word. Actually, he's just a vicious man. And I worry this is where it's going to fall apart against Sandhagen, because I just think Sandhagen's so well-rounded. that I think Chito Vera maybe isn't in his mindset, but if he gets into clinch positions, he should be going for takedowns. He should be getting takedowns from there and trying to work Sandhagen down to the mat.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, Sandhagen, we've only seen him really struggle against Aljamain Sterling, of course, in their fight where Sterling took the back and wrapped up a rear naked choke. That's a theme you'll see again and again from Aljamain Sterling. And finished Sandhagen in the first round. And then, of course, he was outstruck by Petr Yan, my blessed sweet boy. So sad about it still, Joe. We didn't get a chance to discuss that, but I'm sure we will. That fight with Merab. We haven't really seen him struggle with slower, plodding strikers, and that's kind of where I'm putting Vera when I contrast his style with Sandhagen.
Yeah, he's very low output, but he's high damage. Like if you watch the Rob Font fight, where Font like outstruck him by like 100 strikes, but he didn't win a single round. Like it was like Vera just he touched him and Font would go flying. And
what makes you think that he can't do the same to Sandhagen?
I just think Sandhagen's a much slicker striker. He's just not so reliant on the jab like Font is. Like the thing is that like if your main weapon or your main starting point is the jab, like you can get found out with that. Because it's like you throw the jab and it's just like your next option is either a straight or an uppercut or a sort of lead leg high kick from there. Like and Font's not really that sort of striker. He doesn't throw that sort of output. Whereas Vera is more singular strikes that are a bit more random. Although they are sort of well thought out, like the Dominic Cruz one, where that head kick knockout he went for earlier in the fight, but he went at the wrong angle. So instead of him coming up with the left high kick, he went with the right, and Cruz circled off. He switched it the other way round, and it was still single shot, but he landed it that time. That's the thing, that Vera will still make those adjustments, but it's still single strikes at a time, whereas Sandhagen will throw 3-4 shots in a row. However, that can open up those possibilities for Vera, and Vera, I think, can rock him. It's just, can he get those reads on Sandhagen, on a guy who's a bit more mobile than Dom Cruz is, and is a bit more, has got a bit more variety than Cruz, and actually has finishing power.
Yeah, I mean, I'm something of a Marlon Vera truther, Joe. It's hard to maintain this position when he finished people in such spectacular fashion, like the front kick to Frankie Edgar, and of course that recent head kick over Dom Cruz. I don't have him in the same category as Corey Sandhagen. He did lose to a high-volume striker in Song Yadong. Close fight though it was. Sandhagen, many tiers above that for me. Of course, in his own last fight against Song Yadong, confirmed that eventually with a doctor stoppage back in September. I think Sandhagen will absolutely overwhelm Marlon Vera.
Really?
Yeah, I've got a comprehensive win in my mind. I'm putting it all out there.
I've got a decision win for Sandhagen, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. I think Vera is going to cause him problems. I think it could be the case, could be, 3 rounds to 2. Vera is sort of winning the later rounds, but man, Sandhagen it's one of those rare guys where he has high output, but it gets higher. Like, it's quite something. It's just a bit sad, isn't it, that we know that these two guys aren't going to be fighting for a title this year, though, when the winner probably should.
Do you feel that way, Joe? I'm not sure. After a loss to Petr Yan and to Aljamain Sterling, I'm not sure if Sandhagen's quite there. Vera, with a big win here, for me, would get close to undeniable.
More so than Sean O'Malley and Merab?
No.
Okay.
No.
So what, you
can we talk
win?
Can we talk about Merab?
Yeah, sure. We've gone over an hour anyway. Let's keep going.
Joe, we're getting into it. We're talking bantamweight. What can we can't just end midway.
No. Go on.
Joe, I said it already. I'm sad, Joe. I'm really sad. What happened in that fight is illegal. And what I mean by illegal is it must have involved copious amounts of drugs. Copious amounts of EPO.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's a freak athlete anyway. Like, he's obviously got very good cardio, but like that's to that degree is insane. Like,
truly insane. I've never seen anything like it. I've
yeah,
really never seen anything like it.
Yeah, this is like you're watching the Tour de France. In 1998, Marco Pantani goes at the Tourmalet in 7 minutes. And you're like, holy shit, he's broken the record by 5 minutes. How did he do that? Marco Pantani died of a drug overdose 4 years later, but that maybe tells you something. Yeah, man, like, it's a very impressive win. I think the problem is that Jan is like a guy. Someone made this point. It's a very good point. I can't remember who made it, but Jan is like Robbie Lawler, in that he has his game plan, and his game plan is, I'll see what his game plan is, and then I'll work from there. But when the game plan is, I'm just going to overwhelm you with wrestling, and you're not going to be able to do anything about it, kind of shows a bit of a flaw. I think Jan also, he might have been fucked up going into this fight. I think there was something up with him. There was just certain shots that were there that he wasn't able to land. I mean, I love the fight. Don't get me wrong. I think Jan's counters were excellent. But just the fact that he couldn't do anything with them, it was, it was quite something from Merab. But yeah, I mean, the fact is, no one's saying it out loud, but Merab is clearly on a lot of stuff to be getting that. Like, what happened to the guy that got, like, what was his first? He lost to Ricky Simone in his first fight, didn't he?
Yeah, make the rematch. Bring back Ricky. I need this. I need this fire to be extinguished.
You really hate Merab, don't you?
I really hate Merab. I'm out there. List me as a hater. I really do. I really do.
He lost to Frankie Saenz in his debut.
I did not enjoy this fight. I did not enjoy this. This is crazy. He neutralized Jan.
Yeah.
By taking a single leg and then working some strikes off of that.
11 takedowns is impressive, but Jan defended 37. Like, yeah. But you don't win points for defense and takedown defense. We're not in one. In one they do that, but here they don't. Yeah, there's something off about it, isn't it? There's just, I guess there's a lot of people that don't want to say that out loud, that Jan is clearly on the sauce.
Yeah, also.
No, sorry. I mean, probably he's training somewhere else. He's training in Tiger Muay Thai.
Accusations. Let's just tar them all in the mud.
I mean, I'm sorry, man. You're training out in Thailand. You're suspicious to me. You're very suspicious. No, it's true, man. It's true. Like, that's very suspicious. Can we also talk about suspicious or just ridiculousness? We've gone way over here. Darren Till's left the UFC, right? And he said in his interview, I've got to go off and get treatment that I can't get in the UFC. And I was just like, is he going to come back with legs like Crow Cop? Like, what's he going to look like?
Perhaps as absurd as Conor McGregor looks right now.
His head is weird, isn't it?
It's just mad. Just do that to the human body. But
do you remember? Do you remember when me and you went to the zoo that time, and there was that we went to the gorilla enclosure, and we were stood there just looking at this gorilla, and I remember I think I said to you, it was just like, God, I can see the link to Brock Lesnar. My God, I can see the fucking link to Conor McGregor now. Never mind Brock Lesnar. Christ Almighty.
Yeah, crazy physique. Expect to see a Darren Till like that coming to a light heavyweight division near you.
Oh my word. Right, listeners, thank you so much for sticking with us. We've got an extra long on this one. I mean, what can we say? We love Leon Rocky Edwards, man.
Let's just close out on that one, Joe, because he is the man.
He
defended. There was a question mark. There isn't anymore.
No,
reigning, defending, welterweight champion, Leon Rocky Edwards.
Undisputed.
Undisputed.
My word. Listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back next week to review the Corey Sandhagen Marlon Vera card, and maybe do a preview. Oh God, that's the week after, isn't it? Yeah, we got Pereira versus Adesanya 2 coming up soon as well. So get hyped for that. Listeners, like, subscribe, leave a review, particularly if you're from Kazakhstan. And
have we got the national anthem rehearsed yet?
What, do you want me to do the one from Borat? Is that what you're asking me to do? No. Come on. Well, you know the one from Borat.
Goodbye,
Anyway, goodbye.
everybody.
No, I'm not done yet. I'm not done wrapping up. You can contact us at holdonbrother69@gmail.com. Spread the word. Like herpes. Anyway, see you later, listeners. Good night.
Good night.